Hi, thanks for being with me today. I hope the Lord is blessing you with a peace and a calm in your life that has given you a lot of real satisfaction in the world. I'm really passionate about a lot of things. I'm passionate about the Lord's work, but I'm also passionate about our earth and our stewardship of our earth. You know, man has been led by the devil to really practice bad practices on the earth and exploit the earth and take from the earth, so that now a large portion of the earth's surface is desert, that's unproductive and doesn't support life. You know, evil likes to destroy life and create a void of unhappiness and not doing the Lord's work. I'm very concerned on a bunch of fronts. I'm very concerned that there's a whole cadre of climate activists that, instead of focusing on restoring the earth and restoring the soil so that it sequesters and gathers in all the carbon dioxide that man has emitted for the last couple of hundred years, to restore our earth to bountiful productivity, instead they focus very short-sightedly on trying to reduce fossil fuel emissions as a sole program, not focusing on the incredibly harmful effects of making rash decisions. And today, one of the things that many activists and some Democratic candidates promote is to ban hydraulic fracturing, an emotional issue, not looking at how important it is and what abundance it has brought to man, and served as a transition that we might make a transition in an orderly way to more renewable life. We do need to live our lives sustainably, not relying on the earth's geologic resources, because those resources are finite, and one of the finite resources is the soil. And restoring the soil to fertility, restoring the forest to health, will sequester the carbon and solve the carbon dioxide problem, even while we burn fossil fuels for generations or a decade to come, because there is no substitute for fossil fuel for many of man's needs in the current time. It's going to take a lot of transition and a lot of support to make our lives happy and successful in a sustainable way. One of the things I'm doing, and I'll be glad to share it and hope you'll buy a copy when I'm done, is I'm writing a book called A Positive Solution to the Climate Crisis that offers real hope that we don't need to do something that will end life as we know it to really make a difference and restore the earth to health. So we need to focus on the positive. We need to not do things that are short-term, emotional, but have long-term implications. A ban on hydraulic fracturing would trigger global energy shortages, because the American success story of increased oil and natural gas production has drastically lowered prices and made it possible for people to enjoy a prosperity and abundance that will go away with a ban on fracking, because that is the key to much of America's production. And sadly, shale wells don't have long lives at high productivity. Over half the production from a shale well comes in the first year, with production falling more than 60% in the first year, a big drop, and then continuing down to a low level. So if we quit drilling wells, America's oil and gas production will diminish sharply, eliminating America from being able to help other countries provide their energy needs, and creating shortages in America with drastically higher prices that will really cripple the country. I hope you'll share this show with others and promote a good solution, which is to enrich and remineralize the soil to really soak up all this carbon dioxide. The potential of the soil is so great that we could actually almost remove too much carbon from the environment and hinder plant growth. The soil has the potential to sequester an enormous amount. Unhealthy soil actually emits carbon to the air. Healthy soil sequesters tons per acre per year, creating valuable humus and organic compounds in the soil that enrich fertility and provide for more nutritious food. I know it's hard to believe that so many activists don't give the soil and the potential of the soil and the plant life much credit, but many of them are urban, many of them don't get beyond the conventional agricultural model, which turns the soil into a net emitter. Agriculture currently is actually a net emitter of carbon dioxide into the air instead of sequestering. But responsible regenerative agriculture can really change that and turn a farm into a net sink of carbon, pulling carbon out of the air and putting it to productive use. So I hope that you will stay tuned to this show, keep watching it, subscribe to the channel, go to YouTube, Insights with David, go to insightswithdavid.com, share the good news that the Lord's at work and we can do the good things that need to be done to love our neighbors by creating a prosperous and healthy world and using new technology, developing new things to produce energy for America and for the world that's sustainable and realistic. You know, you hear a lot about, well, solar energy can provide all our power. Well, a lot of sunlight hits the earth every day, but everybody knows that the sun doesn't always shine. While I'm filming this show is a cloudy, sort of rainy day. If I was relying on solar energy as my major power source with no other source available, I wouldn't have power. I wouldn't be able to tape this TV show because the power would fail. So we've got to have backup. One of the very short-sighted things by environmentalists is being opposed to natural gas for power generation. Natural gas power generation has the beautiful advantage of being able to turn off and on demand very quickly to meet power needs. So natural gas can serve as a backup to solar energy. So we can use the sun when the sun shines, but when the sun doesn't shine, we'll have power available from natural gas. Well, that will drastically cut emissions of carbon dioxide and other pollutants. And unfortunately, we still are burning coal for power generation in this country and polluting the air, polluting the land with toxic waste left over from the coal burning and raping the land with mines and doing so much damage that we really need to phase out coal as fast as possible. But the truth is, you need energy, and solar and wind aren't going to be able to provide 24/7 reliable power. And the myth of battery storage is one that can't possibly be met. The energy demands are too high. Now we have to be more efficient. We have to really change the way we do business over time. But radical, rapid change increases the cost exponentially. So when you hear people talking about banning natural gas, phasing it out fast, those are people who don't really look at energy realistically from an engineering standpoint. We need to phase out coal first to really clean up our air and lower our carbon footprint so that the soil can soak up even more carbon and lower the level in the environment. We need to come together and work together to remineralize the soil and revitalize it. And it's going to take a major effort to do that, but it's a very affordable effort, one that's a fraction of the cost of some of these radical proposals to try to transform America's energy sector in a very short period of time, which will do nothing to lower carbon dioxide levels. It will just slow the rise. You've got to really sequester carbon, and the carbon cycle in nature is so large that it can really sequester the carbon and pull it down, even while we still emit carbon from burning fossil fuel, especially if we phase out coal and substitute clean burning natural gas. In the long term, we need to get our natural gas from biodigestion of plant and animal waste, recycle all of the nutrients that we're putting into the landfill, and recover substantial amounts of energy from that. We need to be growing plants that produce energy, and we need to even be growing plants in the ocean to produce biogas. Seaweed and other plants can be used to produce biogas and give us a reliable source of natural gas that lasts far beyond the relatively short lifespan of geologic natural gas. We have a large supply of natural gas, a tremendous number of undrilled locations, but to keep that production up and provide energy for America, we need to keep drilling to replace the production that's fallen off in the existing wells. So it isn't like we can stand still and be where we need to be as a country to make a transition over a long period of time to a more renewable future. We can add huge amounts of renewable energy if we build natural gas power plants to back them up. A coal-fired power plant can't back up solar because a coal-fired power plant has to stay hot and operational all the time. It takes 12 hours to start a coal-fired power plant up. So it can't turn off and on as the sun comes up and goes down or a cloud comes over. You need rapid reacting natural gas to meet that need, and that's being stymied by people that are anti-natural gas activists that are killing vitally needed clean natural gas power plants and pipelines to move gas to markets so that heating oil and coal can be minimized. I'd love to see you reach out to your congressman and say, I'm in favor of natural gas development. I want to see us make a sharp transition away from coal into clean natural gas and expand renewables, build more solar, build more wind, and make things happen. But nobody talks about biogas much, but biogas, naturally produced natural gas from renewable sources, is really where we need to be moving aggressively. And with favorable prices being paid for biogas to encourage the production. So it's critical that we do something about our environment, but the really critical need is to save the soil. 10 million tons a day of soil are eroding into the oceans, gone forever to provide sustenance for the world. What are we going to do when our soil is gone? Estimates are that we could have as little as 60 years of soil left in many areas. Some areas are depleted beyond that. Every year, 1 million or more acres goes into desert from semi-productive arid lands. Desertification of the world is shocking. Look at an aerial satellite photo of the world and see the incredible amount of white desert that shows up in the picture, causing enormous loss of productivity, loss of photosynthesis, and encouraging more emissions of carbon as that land degrades to a zero carbon state and is not able to soak up any carbon dioxide through photosynthesis. It'll be a while before my book is finished. I'm working hard on it and making progress every day, but I'm going to propose a really positive solution that is soil remineralization and soil improvement and planting trees, planting forage, restoring grasslands through holistic grazing, and doing so much to turn our world into a better place that can feed humanity well, going on into the future in a sustainable way. We must do a lot. We need to really change our ways to make a sustainable world where our grandchildren can live and thrive and enjoy. I'm worried that we are at a point where that may not be possible if we don't make major change. If we don't start restoring the soil, rebuilding the soil, cutting down on soil erosion through keeping the soil covered with vegetation all the time so that it's soaking up carbon out of the air through photosynthesis and building reserves in the soil, building organic matter, and making a big difference. Now, please share this show, put it on social media. Let's get the word out that there is hope, there is a positive solution that doesn't involve focusing entirely on trying to cut out fossil fuels as fast as possible, but focuses on actually soaking all that carbon up and more and really reducing carbon dioxide levels in the air and restoring our soil to fertility. There is so much that can be done. It's going to take a lot of money, and I propose in my book that we have a carbon tax that goes exclusively to measures that sequester carbon from the air and actually reduce the carbon dioxide in the air. We can do it affordably. It won't drastically raise energy prices. Energy prices are really low right now due to the abundance of the shale revolution. We need to keep prices low so that we can pay a little extra to sequester carbon into the soil, remineralize the soil, and make this world a much better place. One of the added benefits of soil remineralization and regenerative farming is that crops actually get better, the quality goes up, and human and animal health will be better with more nutritious food produced from mineral-rich land. It's going to take a lot of work because the soil's been demineralizing for many thousands of years since the last ice age, and we must add minerals back to the soil and revitalize it and create a Garden of Eden instead of a Garden of Woe, which is where we're headed. People take for granted that food is abundant, but they don't realize that the structure of the soil is degrading, the productivity potential is going down, and the quality of food is going down as plant breeders breed crops to need less nutrition and be less nutritious, but still have the carbohydrates in them that fatten cattle and produce less nutritious meat. So think hard about it, share the word, get online and go to remineralize.org and see the good news about remineralization, see the many articles and testimonies and videos they've got on that website. They desperately need your support. Their cause is tiny, the need is huge, and they need to have a huge number of supporters to come online and give to them and support them. Small monthly donations, more than welcome. There's a site called Patron that's got a link on the remineralize.org website that has a giving channel that not only allows you to make donations as small as $2 a month, but you can then be registered as a supporter, showing up on the counter, and we desperately need numbers. We need supporters. This is a great charity that is really supporting a real solution to climate change that is using rock dust to remineralize the earth in a sustainable, permanent way and change our world from demineralizing and oxidizing soil carbon to one that's bringing it in and creating a richer and more vital earth on a continuous basis. You can make a big difference. Go online, give, do the research, share the website, put it on social media, promote it. We need to get the word out that there is a positive solution to the climate crisis that doesn't involve solely chopping America's prosperity down to an austere, expensive lifestyle of unreliable energy and sharply reduced living standards that would accompany efforts to ban practices like hydraulic fracturing and the shale revolution that has brought so much prosperity and lower energy prices to America. We can easily afford to pay a small carbon tax because that amount would be so small compared to the cost of increasing energy prices due to shortage by killing the shale revolution. I estimate the cost of a tax to really sequester all the carbon coming out of man's fossil fuel burning would be maybe $12 per barrel of oil or 30 cents a gallon for gasoline. A ban on hydraulic fracturing, my friends, could easily raise energy prices several dollars a gallon as the world fights over a supply that doesn't meet the demand and countries struggle to gain access to the international supplies when America's bounty of oil dries up due to falling production and lack of new wells. So the world's in a delicate balance energy-wise. There's not a huge glut of energy, but right now there is plenty, and that has driven prices down to a very affordable level. We can easily afford to pay a little extra to sequester all this carbon. The added benefit of paying farmers and ranchers to sequester carbon is that it would end the agricultural depression where farmers are going bankrupt and losing their farms and going out of business, even committing suicide out of despair because of low prices for commodities and a lack of sustainability. Encouraging farmers to do things positive that actually soak up carbon will result in large payments to farmers for those practices that are sustainable and not at the risk of weather and commodity markets. So we can make a real difference. And one thing that also gets missed is that a carbon tax that is paid out to farmers and ranchers and landowners to sequester carbon actually produces a lot of taxable income for those people that will then be paid back to the federal government. So it's kind of a cycle that helps the federal government get more revenue, do more good work, and rescue the farm economy from a path of despair and loss. We are in danger of losing our ability to produce food because farming has been so unprofitable and unsustainable that farm children leave the farm and go to work in the cities instead of staying to work the farm because there's not enough money to support the next generation. So we are literally farming out our farmers. They're getting old, the replacements aren't coming in, there is an exodus out of the countryside, and these need to be reversed. And the carbon sequestration payment scheme will really change the countryside from a land of despair and hopelessness to a bountiful place where the soil is getting richer and the farmer has the joy and satisfaction of being a good steward of his land instead of being forced to mine it and pull nutrients out without replacing them because he's on such desperate financial straits that he can't survive unless he mines his farm for the remaining resources. Mining is great, but it's like living on a savings account. It only lasts till the mine runs dry. And every mine, every geologic resource has a finite life, and we must transition our lives into sustainability. The way to do that is to have a huge promotional campaign and make it profitable for farmers to save energy, save carbon, rebuild the soil, and create a rising path of productivity instead of having a decline where every year we're losing tons of topsoil per acre. Let's go to a situation where we're building topsoil because we've added minerals to the soil that soil bacteria can break down and turn into new topsoil. That's right, rebuilding instead of depleting. A really positive message. You know, there's so much that can be done, and the Greater Dallas Coalition supports this show and spreads the good news about what can be done in the world. And I don't want you to think that because I've spent the last time talking about the soil and sequestration, that it isn't important to also take care of the needy. One thing that'll really help the needy is good jobs and vitality in the sector where some people can actually move back to the countryside and be productive citizens there instead of being hungry and not having a fulfilling career path here in the city. If you come to a Greater Dallas Coalition monthly meeting, you will see the incredible need there is and how our cities are broken because they don't take care of people. We're exploited people or we've neglected them and things are bad. But we're making a difference one kid at a time and trying to encourage positive behavior. But if we don't have productive soil, the cities will die and wither. And for too long, we've neglected our land, we've neglected the people that are farming it and taking care of it and encouraged bad behavior. And there's a need for city people to support the countryside and really make a difference in changing things for the better. So please support us, please share the show, and let's build Insights with David into a major vehicle of insight. I'm eager to see more views and share the good news that there are solutions to our problems that can make a difference. And of course, the most important thing you can do is to welcome the Holy Spirit into your life so that you can be filled with joy and happiness and have the peace that passes understanding be an active part of your life. So take care and may God bless you, and let's take care of this earth that God has given us to be stewards of and share the good news with others. Take care and have a blessed day.